Hi, this is Eric Elder, and I want to talk today about vision boards. And I had not heard about this. I was very excited to do this, and I created what's called a vision board. This is my vision board for 2026. And so I wanted to invite my friends and ask them to tell us just a little about vision boards and how it's helped them because they're the ones that inspired me to do this year for the first time. And I have as my guests Ann McKitrick, and we met many years ago back in Houston when I was living there, and through friends of Joan Moody, who is also my cousin and my art coach and spiritual mentor and many things to me. So Joan and Anne have been doing vision boards for, I'll let them tell you, but I think 15 years every year. And so they've been doing workshops on this. I saw a post on Facebook that Anne was doing a workshop, and I thought, oh, that would be really interesting. And I just wanted to know more. And so I've been talking to Anne and Joan about it, and I went ahead and created one. And they're in Texas. I'm in Illinois, and my son Bo lives with me here. Bo Elder, and he's just been creating his vision board too. And so we're going to share a little bit about this and how it's helpful. It's been helpful to me already this year, getting me motivated, inspired, keeping me up in my desires because I have up days and down days, up moments and down moments. And by keeping the vision board right here next to my desk and where I can see it all the time, it reminds me what I'm doing, what I want to be doing for the year, and it really makes it more inspiring than drudgery. And so that's my take, but I'm such a newbie here. I'd love to ask you, Anne, you have been doing this for years. How many years have you been doing this? And you've led workshops on this. How many workshops have you led? And
Yeah, we started our vision board when we started a peer mastermind group. Um, I gathered three friends who were also just kind of thinking about starting a business of their own, and so we began meeting monthly, and the vision board quickly became a very important part of our time together. But I have done vision board workshops in a lot of different settings. Personally, I make one every year with my group, but I also have adapted them to early childhood settings where I do vision boards for like all of the pre-K 3 teachers and all of the pre-K 4 teachers, and they will make a vision board for the upcoming year and then post it in their room to remind them of their goals, their visual goals and intentions for their classroom, their children, their parents, their families, and their own professional work. But also it gives the parents a chance to see what the goals are for
mm,
teachers and the kind of the attitude behind what they do all day with their young children. And so that's been a really neat way to use vision boards as well professionally. So they're not just always just personal, you can make them
yeah,
for your other big goals as well.
that is great. Can you show us your vision board and just tell us what is a vision board? What even is this?
A vision board is really just a visual representation of your goals and your values and your intentions for the upcoming year. And to prepare to speak with you all, I was looking back at a lot of my old boards and because I keep them stacked up and they really do tell an amazing story. But one of the things that I realized is that I communicate a lot of my fears on my boards. And
Mm.
and then I also communicate the bravery that I want to see myself have associated with those fears. But here's this year's board. And you know, the what we ask people to do and when the practice of it is that you just look at a bunch of images and find one that jumps out at you. And it's a very kind of almost inexplicable thing about some particular picture jumps out at you. And so we just say, cut it out, cut it out, cut it out.
And you
But
just could
this
take
one,
magazines, just any magazine, and
right,
you just
right,
flip
yeah,
through them, and then you cut out things that strike you, that
right,
make you
yes,
lean in or something. Yeah, okay.
yeah. Or words that make you lean in.
Mm.
Mm.
Um, but this staircase is very elegant and very beautiful, and it just looks like a staircase, to somebody else. But to me, this staircase represents my my growth in my work and in my business and in myself as moving up and moving out in the work that I'm doing, and but doing it um, with a little bit of beauty as well, and
Mhm.
allowing that to be a part of it.
Mm,
Another, I always have a section with my family, and I have the cross over my family. This
mm,
is one of my favorite pictures, and the story behind this picture is I saw it and it was one of those hitch moments. I felt the tug of that picture, and it's a pretty big one. It takes up a lot of real estate on my board. And, but I put it there front and center. I always loved swinging as a kid. I even like to swing now.
mm,
um, but I just loved that image. And it was probably, I don't know, a few months after I made my board that I had a strikingly powerful dream about myself swinging
mm,
up in the sky and just being pushed up and just experiencing this, I call them flying dreams, it was an amazing, powerful, joyful experience in my dreams. And it was very much related to this. And so now when I look at this picture, I can remember that dream and the joy that I had as I
mm,
was flying through the sky and experiencing that exhilaration of, I wasn't even having to pump my legs every single swing back. I just went higher and higher,
Mm.
and
mm,
I was just laughing the whole time. And so it's a lovely dream to remember.
mm,
Yeah.
mm.
So,
That is
um,
so cool.
yeah. So just some other images that you can see there. That open door one, that was another image that just kind of jumped out at me, and it has really um, been happening. I mean, for crying out loud, this is March when we're recording this, and I have had so many doors open to me so
Mm,
far since I created this board, and I am
Mhm.
so excited to see what other doors are going to open. And so you might not look at this picture and think, "Oh, that's a business goal picture," but it is, and
mm,
that's the beauty of a vision board is I know what the picture means. You don't necessarily know what it means.
mm.
This is very personal to me. I'll show you one more thing. I like to put a PS on the back of my boards. And here's my PS for AI. But I am learning to use AI to
Mm,
support my business and not to run my business, but to support what I'm doing and make it better. And so
Mm.
that's just
mm,
a little
mm.
thing
Nice.
on the board.
I didn't know about the PS idea. That's interesting. By the way. Well, Joan, can you show, thanks, and can you show us your board and maybe one or two things on it that uh, are striking you?
Let's see. Can y'all see it?
Yep. Hmm.
Mhm.
This is my board from last year. And when we were meeting to create these, I had all this extra space at the bottom and I wasn't sure how to use it. And I was so drawn to this map of the world, but I needed it to be bigger. So I sliced it and made it fit and then threw on a picture of an artist and then threw on this picture of people gathering. And it was all around connecting with community, specifically artists. I'm an artist, and I just, I really couldn't explain why, but this picture is uh, a retreat that I actually led for artists. And little did I know that I would end up going to Central Asia. And now I have a little arrow there that I've gone back and added of where in the world did I gather. And the crazy thing is, after that retreat, I asked them to take a picture that looked like this. And they
Mm.
sent me a picture, and the people who gathered, where is it? If you can see, here is a black and white striped shirt.
Mhm.
One of the women in the picture that was sent me over a year later, a woman in a black and white striped shirt was in the corner of the picture.
Well, and you had just cut this out of a magazine a year
Yeah,
ago, and you
yes.
Wow.
put a globe on there, and you put that picture. Wow! And now you've taken the picture, and you've been traveling, and And you've
Yes.
been invited to go to other countries now here. So
Well, I've been
you're
asked to pray
thinking.
about going to another country. Yes. So we've been doing this a long time, and I would agree with Ann. The more I look back on my old boards and reflect, even in 2 or 3 years ago, I wasn't even aware what was ahead for me in my life, but it was very confirming that there is a great mystery to God in how He uses these boards in people's lives. And I'm not unique, and Ann is not unique. I would say it's pretty normal for people to have that kind of an experience, creating it and as well as reflecting on it.
Mm.
So I'm a believer.
That's great. And you've been doing this 15 years, and
Yes.
too, or Joan, right? I mean, you've
Yes.
been doing them together even, right?
Yes.
And you just led this retreat together for the first time, though, I think. But
Yeah. And
just
I've done it with
that's
artists.
you've done
Just
it
with,
with other people on your own. So yeah. So you've seen the power of it, not only in your own life, but in others. And when I saw it, I thought it was such a great idea. And here's my board that I created. I did not go to their retreat because what was there, an ice storm or something that week, and I couldn't fly. So I just went. I didn't have any magazines, so I went to Barnes and Noble and I just looked at magazines and looked through magazines and covers, and I just took pictures on my phone, and then I came back. I put them all in one document on that, and I took time. I think you said take an hour and a half to look through pictures and no editing, no second thoughts, just what do you lean into, what attracts you, and then take another hour after that and sort of sort through and see what's really prominent. And so I came up with these six main categories of I really want to focus on my health. I've been through some health issues, and so I'm trying to get back to exercising. I cut out a model of a GQ model, and then I put my head on it,
Nice.
just to help me think. This is where I'm going towards. This is what I want, and this is about my painting. I love painting, and so I'm like, I kept being drawn to these different paintings and sculptures, and I thought, wow, this is a big theme in my life right now, and it hasn't been in the past. So this is new, just because I went to Joan's art retreat a year and a half ago, and that sparked me into thinking, wow, maybe I should lean into art because I haven't done it for years, and now I'm back into it, and I really, really, I'm so drawn. And then I'm really into technology, and so I have this section I'd like to make a movie, and I'd like to use all the technology. I have my faith here and some travel here, and my writing of books, and a little post-it note here that says, "Minister to people and receive ministry from people all along the way." So this is sort of my reminder that in all that I do, I, I want to be a person that ministers to people, but I also receive ministry from people. And I have a word of the year, but we can talk about that too. But it's just it's already been helpful. I've only had it done for a few weeks here, but I look at it every day, and it's like to me each section's like a box of chocolates. It's like, oh, I'd like to work on painting today. I'd like to work on writing. I'd like to work on technology. Whereas before I've been all on index cards. This is what I'm working on for the next 6 weeks and my goals and my things. But this was just so much more dry, and it was somewhere a cross between exciting and work. And it's like, okay, I got to check the boxes. But this feels like a box of chocolates in every section. It's like, oh, which one do
Mm.
I want to take the chocolate from today? And so it's helped me, relax my shoulders and go, wow, I really like doing this. I enjoy doing this, and I want to do this. So let's get up and go do it. And it's already keeping me going. So I'll be excited to see what on my board uh, sort of comes to pass as I go through the year. I'm excited about that. Bo, you went with me this morning. We
Yep.
got some pictures. You want to throw one up on your screen? He hasn't
Yeah,
put it up.
I'll share my screen here. I didn't print it out, so it's just a PDF, but I'll share that. Let me know if you can see it.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
So, kind of similar to Dad's in the sense that I just took pictures, but not quite as organized. Well, kind of grouped up, I would say, but um, I feel like the word that sums everything up is Spark, and I found this journal called Spark, and I
Mm.
actually bought it this morning. I'm gonna work through that this year, but I just put that front and center. Jesus kind of overlooking everything,
Mm.
everything in my life. But I'm glad, Anne, you said that also words are things that can be like put on a vision board, because that was most of my vision board was just words that stuck out to me, not so much
Mm.
pictures. Um, Poets and writers, I mean, that's what I do. Um, I know YOLO was a big phase back in the day, but I still feel like it's a great motivator for life. We only have one life, and so you only live once is what that stands for.
Mm,
Sweet dreams. Um, I'm just kind of praying for good sleep this year, um, which
mhm.
I feel like that. What Joan, when you were talking about um, your board, it almost felt like the board itself was a prayer, um, like something to be looking over and praying that the Lord would use this or like come through in a different way.
Yeah,
So I loved that.
it often is, and that's why it's good to keep your board in a place where you will see it every day.
Yeah. So that is one of those prayers that I'm praying is good sleep, creative calm. I just sometimes get stressed about creativity, and there's just a good direction to just remind myself that creativity is a beautiful thing.
Mm.
Building worlds, I love building. There's just some random songwriting stuff. I think this was uh who was this? Dolly Parton. I was like, look at her origins. Like this is just a normal person, just like me, but now she's like incredible singer, incredible writer, all of that. Um,
Mhm.
Sorry, my board is not loading here, but um, this quote stuck out to me as well. Um, I saw this in a magazine. People seem to respond to what I'm able to do, so I guess I'll keep trying to do it. It's like a dream. Um,
Mm.
I just wanted that reminder that the things that I have made, people have really been impacted by. Um, and so why not continue to do that? Why not continue to impact people? Um,
Mhm.
but up here, I've got a little corner on travel, um, and the idea that this world is beautiful. On the right, we have a little photography. I love photography, and I want to keep going toward that and increasing my skills there. Um, on the bottom right, some AI inspiration, um, the promise and the perils of AI, and learning how to use it in your daily life to improve. Um, Solving inflammation is one of those prayers for my my Crohn's. I'm still trying to figure out how Crohn's works in my life. Um, but yeah, just kind of different corners of ideas that I wanted to inspire myself with and pray over this next year. Um, on the bottom left, there's this beautiful quote about who you are, um, being the things that you love and pursue,
Mm.
and not so much the things that like your mistakes and your um, how you look, I guess, and all of that. But um, that was a good reminder down there as well.
Mm.
But I'll take this off the
That's
screen
great.
now.
That's great, Bill. I love that. I think what's nice too is it gives me a glimpse into your mind and into each of your minds. It's like you have these visions, but I don't know always what they are. The ones that you've expressed to me, any of you, I might know, but there's so much in your mind that you have a dream and a desire and want to lean into that I wouldn't have any idea without your board. Your board gives me a picture. Our creations, a lot of times, whether it's writing or music or art or the work we do with our hands, I think it gives gives other people a snapshot of what's really going on inside you. So I
Hmm.
think that's beautiful too. Get them out of your head and into a form that you can look at and enjoy. Um, I want to ask Anne a follow-up, just that you said your fears are on the board too. Like what's a fear on your board that might be there, but we might not have known that it was. I did see a line that said something about how I will provide for you. Maybe that's God will, but maybe the flip side is you fear for God's provision, or fear for whether you're going to be. I don't know. I'm just making that up. But is that what you're talking about, or?
Um, I think initially when we started making our boards on my first boards, I had just left my job as an early childhood educator and mentor and coach of teachers at the university, and had quit to go into business for myself. And it was a digital business. And so this was 10 years ago. And I really didn't know what I was doing. But the biggest thing that I was afraid of was putting myself out there online and being seen. And so that first board has in the middle of it a big empty stage. And I just thought I have to step into that. And so it was very much a, you know, it was a very big thing for me to have to overcome to be able to do the work that I'm doing today. And so I think that that's what I mean. But another thing as I was looking through them is I've always kind of envisioned my what I'm doing as I'm just crossing a bridge. I'm just trying to get from here to here. And on one of my boards early on, it was one of those bridges kind of like in a movie in the Amazon where they're taking this bridge across the river and it's so high up and it's rickety and you don't know if the boards are any good. It's that kind of bridge.
Mm.
And that's what it felt like stepping out into this what felt so unsure, like it's just going to fall
Mm.
out from under me and I'm just going to fall. I don't know
Mm.
what I thought I was going to fall into, but maybe embarrassment. But
Mm.
but anyways, but then I think it was a couple of years later, there's another picture of a bridge and I'm like, golly, I didn't even know that. But this bridge is going across a gigantic canyon, like envision the Grand Canyon, not that big, but a canyon like that. And it is a good, strong, sturdy rope bridge that it would still take a lot of courage to walk across, but you knew it was going to at least hold you.
Yeah.
Mm.
And so that's what I mean by
Mm.
these fears coming out and showing up on my boards without me even realizing it. I haven't really studied this year's board to see where my fears are, but I'm sure maybe it's in this I will provide everything you need.
Mm.
That probably is spoke to me because I don't know if I have everything I need to do it, this big vision
Mm.
that God's given
Mm.
me. And
Mm.
and so yeah, own your
Mm.
voice. That's another, I think that really speaks to my fear of
Mm.
speaking, public
Mm.
speaking and pursuing speaking that's outside of my genre of early childhood. I'm very comfortable with a pre-K teacher.
Mm.
Mm.
Put me in front of somebody else and I feel a little bit more nervous. And
Mhm.
the
Because
truth
you
is
speak now in front of corporate settings, all kinds of places. So
that's my
yeah,
intention. Yeah.
yeah, okay, okay. I'm
Wow.
sorry, but the truth is, you said.
But the truth is that I'm most comfortable with my own set of people that I've been working with for 30 plus years. But to
Mm.
go out and be in front of other people, which is what I have to do in order to make this momentum supper club vision that I feel that I've been given, in order for that to happen, I have to step outside. And
Mm.
so, yeah.
Mm. I love hearing about that, like the fear of the stage. If I saw your board and saw a big stage, it's like, oh, that's obvious. Of course, that's Anne. She's going to go and speak to all these places. But to you, it was a, "Hmm, I want to do this. I want to be
Yeah.
used, but I'm scared to death." And or the bridge, those are great. Joan, you've talked about fears too, I think, in the past about just to me, like you wanted to paint big. You've painted lots of paintings, but there was a season where you were like, I want to do 4 feet by 5 feet or larger, and and you had to overcome that fear. Can you just talk about that for a second? Because that somehow you got the impetus to go do it. Tell me a little about that again.
Well, I had to decide that that was my intention. I was going to do it. I was going to face that fear. I had to go order them. I had to figure out how to get them into my studio, how to get them on the wall securely. And then to give myself the freedom to just play to, others would say, why are you wasting all that paint? What's going to happen with all that? People who were, I don't understand abstracts, but I love them. And to just do it anyway, that I wasn't painting for someone else. And then in the end, this couple came, they wanted to buy one of the largest paintings. And then in the end, they left with two because they had a really big living room.
Mm,
Yes, so. And it was just so, they had such joy seeing it and buying it that it was just like, what was I so afraid of? And it was no different than me literally thinking for 10 years that I wanted to do in a retreat, but I was so terrified to put big chunks of money down and risk what if it was a failure. And now it feels like, oh my gosh, I lost 10 years. Bo, don't do that.
it's too late. I should have started when I was
Go big.
15.
Go big.
Don't wait. But it's also a real blessing to do these boards with others. You know, they can share in your celebration when things happen, when you're in the midst, when you forget, oh my gosh, that's on my board. Anne is the one that pointed out the picture was like had the black and white stripes. I'd only celebrated the picture. I hadn't even looked at it long enough to see the black and white stripes. And now those people have done 3 more retreats. So you never know what's going to come of your vision. I'm convinced it's way bigger than us.
And back to Bo's word, the spark. I mean, God does have a purpose for each one of our lives. I mean, Ephesians 2:10 talks about we were saved for a reason, and it's a reason that was given even before we were saved, before we were put on this planet. And He's got purposes and reasons for us. And why do we lean into certain things? Why are we attracted? And there could be bad things that are temptations that we need to resist, but a lot of times there's good in there that we can use those as, okay, what's the good in here, and how can I use it for good? How can I navigate new technology that could be perilous or could be a huge blessing? And how do you lean into the good and not the bad? But I think just that divine spark is in each of us, and not to ignore that. And I think the vision board has helped me capture um, sort of who I am in this season of my life and what I want to focus on. And that's been really helpful for me, just to see it in a visual way. What would be, you've shared a few things, what would be some ways that the vision board has helped you over your 15 years of doing this? Not just even some of the happenstance things, I would say happenstance, but really God was laying the groundwork as you leaned into something, and then it was maybe that influenced your desire to go to the world. You put your globe on there, and then you're like in the retreat, and then you're like, oh, this is where I want to lean into, and then someone invites you, and then you say yes, rather than saying no. Even though it's fearful, and there's lots of things involved in pulling it off, but I think it's not just happenstance, but we have some other stories of maybe how this has helped you, and keeping it in front of you daily. What difference does that make versus create it and then look at it once a
Well,
month?
I can say something about that. I like to, when I talk to artists specifically, most of them come full of fear. How could I do this? Why do I have this desire to create? I haven't done this in 20 years, or I have never painted. I've only done watercolor. And I just tell them, it's like you have God antennas. Pay attention to where He's leading. Don't
Yeah.
dismiss those nudges. Don't dismiss the open doors. Don't dismiss a conversation that made your heart come alive. Pay attention to that. It's there for a reason. And I would say that is what is an additional part of a vision board, and having a word of the year that is powerful.
Maybe tell me about a word of the year that's carried you through or helped you through.
Well, the one that comes to my mind is, I didn't want this word of the year. I usually start in December praying, what is my word of the year? And usually God has to tell me through a song or through a poem or through a person or something. A word comes up continually, but that year the word was pause. That is not me. Anybody knows I'm around a lot.
The scariest word.
Yeah, it's like, that is not what I wanted. But God said, trust me. Well, guess what year it was?
COVID.
COVID. But it wasn't until later that I learned why that word was so good and
Mm,
why other things were on that board that hadn't been on other boards.
mm,
It was perfect.
mm, mm. I love that. I love that. How about you, Anne? Another story from your boards over the years that has helped
Yeah,
you.
my well, I'll tell you a fun story. I'll tell. One year, I put um, a car on my board, and I really love convertibles, and always wanted one, but I never had one. And anyways, I put this car on my board, and it was just this beautiful car. And then, you know, one of the things that is suggested is that if if you really want to visualize yourself, if you have something big, go to the car dealership and take a picture of yourself sitting in that car that you're dreaming of, or
Mm.
take a picture in front of the house that you would love to have, or that kind of thing, so that it's not just a picture of the thing, but it's you in that thing. So anyways, I had this picture of this car, and so I looked up what kind of car that was, and it was it was a Lexus something. And I looked it up online, and it was like over $100,000 for that car. And I was just indignant that that car would cost that much money. And I said, I don't care if I had millions of dollars in the bank. I would never pay that kind of money for a car. And I
Mm,
just dismissed it out of my mind. I don't
mm,
want that car. That car that's not me.
mm,
And so a few years later, 4 years later to be exact, my husband was retiring, and we were looking at our cars, and both of our cars had a lot of miles on them, and we were getting ready to have, steady income. And we decided that we would trade in our cars and get a car with lower mileage in it. And so he's just, checking out cars on his, spare time. And he starts looking at BMW convertibles. And he found one that was very much in our price range. It was very old. It was a 2008, but it was the best looking car I've ever driven in my life.
mm,
And we bought it, and I drove that car, and I had that car. It was mine. And it
Mm.
wasn't until a little while later that I realized that it looked like the exact same car that was on my board.
Wow.
And and I had gone through this whole process of wanting that car, releasing that car, being disgusted by that car, and then getting that car. And then I had a few years of driving that car, and it was like so fun, just the best car ever. The problem was it was just a little bit too tiny, and it was uncomfortable for some people to sit in, and I could only carry one person. And there was a lot of reasons why it wasn't the most practical car for me.
mm, mm,
So I ended up trading it for a different car that I'm driving a different car now. But it was just a joyful time to have that car, and I loved it, and I loved it. And maybe one day I'll have another one. Who
mm.
knows?
Mm.
But
And it's
it
interesting, you didn't even realize that it was that car until a few months later, and then you look back and the picture, you showed me the two pictures recently, and I'm like, oh, I thought it was the same exact car.
it
And it's
looks
like,
exactly the
yeah,
same.
it does, it does. I really thought and one was cut from a magazine and the other was you in it driving it. And
Right.
this isn't about, yeah, you can just go get anything you want if you do a vision board. But
Right.
I
It's not.
love this story. It doesn't work that way, and prayers doesn't work that. But it does work in the sense of sometimes you lean into something and then it's not possible, and then God makes the impossible possible, and
Mm.
Mhm.
He can make a way where there is no way. And maybe it's yeah. I
And
had
he
the
loves
same,
you, and he wants to give you the desires of your heart,
yeah. And I
And
love that you were like, no, 100,000, I'm not ever going to do that's not, and that's not what ended up happening either. I had the same with the piano. My piano was not working. I just wanted to worship God in my private time. I never played publicly. This isn't a vision board, but just my own vision. And I just was like, I'd like to get a new piano, and you know, new to me piano. I didn't care how old it was. Oh, it didn't matter. I just wanted to keep in tune so I could worship God in my living room by myself. And a friend said, "Why don't you go to the piano store and just look through the pianos and then pick one you like and ask God for it?" And I was like, "No, I'm not going to do that. That's like an exercise in frustration. I'm not even going to bother. That would be silly." And then several weeks went by, and I was finally like, I actually don't know where to get another piano, but I'm really frustrated. My piano won't hold its tune more than 3 or 4 days. And so I went to the piano store and I saw an old dilapidated grand piano in the corner, and it was like forever old and terrible looking. And I'm like, that's probably my piano. And I started playing. It was terrible. It was awful. And then I went to the next piano, next piano, next piano, and I finally got to this one piano that was the creme de la creme, and I played a C chord, and it was the most beautiful C chord I've ever heard in my life. It was just one chord, and it was like, oh my gosh. I said, dang it, dang it, dang it, dang it. And I asked the salesman, he came by, and he's like, oh yeah, that's their most expensive piano in the store. He told me how much it was, and I was like, I didn't know they make instruments that expensive. I had no idea. I was like, I said, well, and I told the salesman, I said, well, I'm gonna ask God for this piano. He's like, okay. And I just prayed and I said,
But
God, I'd love this piano. And it was the most, no way would that ever happen. And I felt like God said in my heart, Eric, I'm gonna give you this piano or a better one. And I just shook my head and was like, no way, there's no way. But like you, it was, within a year later. I mean, yours was 4 years later, but mine was within a year later. I had moved to Dallas and I was looking through another piano store, and they were reconditioning that same exact piano from 1910. So it was a very old piano, much less expensive, and they were just working on it. And I said, can I play it? And they're like, yeah, but it's not, we haven't done everything to it yet, and we're going to completely tear it apart, put it all back together. We have people from the factory that made the original ones that work for us, and so they're going to do it. And and he said, Eric, it's gonna, I told him about the piano I liked, and he said, Eric, it's gonna sound like that piano or better.
Hmm.
And I was just like, okay, this could be a line, but it's also ringing some bells. And so I said, let me see. And then within 3 months, they had finished it, and I bought it, and I've owned it and used it and taught all six of my kids piano on it, and my sister has recorded, and I've recorded, and now we stream over 1 million songs per month on all the different streaming services from that piano. That it has paid for itself over and over and over again. That I just wanted something that stayed in tune. My desire was not to have the most expensive piano in the store, but it was like, God, I really just want one that holds its tune. And so I think by just even sometimes looking at it, you could be discouraged and say, no, I'm not going to even go down that route because I don't want to be disappointed, because that can happen too. But then God can make the way where there is no way, and He can do the impossible. And I think it's good, healthy. We can have whole conversations on the healthy balance of holding that with, why do you then get cancer and get sick, and why do some things work out and others? I don't know all the answers, but I do know that putting a vision out there and saying, God, this is what I lean into. This is what I'd really love. This is where my heart lies, and then seeing what God does with it. Can I switch to one topic just about temptations? Maybe, Joan, we've talked about this, and this again is just alluding to maybe, Anne, your thought on sometimes your fears, but more on, I think you have told me sometimes that temptations that we have, sometimes we're tempted towards the wrong things, um, but not to discount those, that those can be like gold to us. There's actually a lot of information in our temptations that, if we will look at that for a little bit, why are we drawn to that? Sure, there may be some really big negatives about it, but maybe there's some positives, or maybe it's something that needs healing or addressed. Or uh, what about things on your board that you're like, I'm really drawn to that, uh, but that's a little scary, a little dicey. Maybe let me make it more practical. On my board, I had the GQ model of the guy. In the magazine, it was actually an underwear ad for a GQ guy in his underwear. And I put that on my board first, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, I would like to look like this at some point, but I can't share that with anyone. So I found another guy that was fully clothed. But there was something in that about, oh, why am I drawn to this
Hmm. Like,
particular
is
type
it
of
pride or
image?
is it?
Is it
Hmm.
pride? Is it desire? Is it illicit? Is it something? But at the same time, maybe there's a way to accomplish it in a way that's healthy and good and godly, and
Yeah.
maybe there's some information in there that's helpful. Any thoughts on that
Like,
as people put their boards together?
one of the things on my board was like world's greatest songwriter. It was like some I can't remember which artist, but it was like claiming he was the best, and I was like, oh, that like I would like to be the world's greatest songwriter at some point. But then
Mm,
I'm like, is that like is that a little
mm,
self-centered, or is it like is that motivating to like desire that, or I
mm.
guess maybe that would be an equivalent to yours
Yeah,
then.
that is. What is
But
that question there? Is there some information or gold in there that's helpful? Uh, have you experienced any of that, Anne or Joan, too?
You know, it's interesting because just yesterday I was on this call with a woman. Her name is Nona Jones. I don't know if you've known of her, but she is a Christian speaker and entrepreneur and businesswoman and pastor and lots of different things. And I asked her about this idea of, you know, you want to succeed, but where's the where's the fine line of not stepping
Mm,
over into wanting something that's not
mm,
good for you or good for
mm,
God's kingdom or for other people, you know? Where is that? And that wasn't exactly my question to her, but that was kind of the gist of it is this
mm,
tension that I feel around pursuing success versus pursuing God. And can those two things align? And
mm,
and she said that one of the things that she does is she just prays every day. I think it was Psalm 56, 2 or 5 or something. To that God, you know, renew in me a clean heart, keep, you know, make
mm,
my spirit pure. And and so I thought that was a really sweet, you know, response to my question. Didn't fully answer it for me, but it was a great start. And then this morning, I just opened up my Bible to Deuteronomy 28, where he says basically, follow my laws and I will bless you. And there is a temptation of being drawn towards things that are worldly
mm,
or, you know, not good for you. But there's also the fact that he wants to lavishly bless you. I mean, if you read that, God will lavish you with good things. That's Deuteronomy
mm,
28, lavish you with good things. So why not put some lavishly good things on your board and ask
mm,
God to make those happen and
mm,
then see what happens, you know?
mm, mm. That's great. That's great. Yeah, I appreciate that. And you're just reading that this morning. That's nice. And you too, Joan, do you have any of those kind of things you've put on your board where you're like not sure if you ought to even be putting on their board?
Well, I think it was 2 years ago, I put a lot of dollar signs.
Mm,
mm,
Words, I was thinking, is that too many? You know, uh, am I really going to charge that much? And it really became a matter of the heart. You know,
mm,
God sees my heart. He sees my intentions. He knows I want to grow. He knows I want to set an example to other artists, to not stay small.
mm,
And I think he really wants us to connect with the big world. And
mm,
part of that is that we need to be called to step up and step out.
mm,
And for me, that was part of it.
mm. That's good. So you had some little questions about it, but then yeah, you
Well,
check your heart
I
and
act
check
like
your
it was
motives
solved
then.
quickly. It wasn't solved quickly.
Oh, let me check. Okay, I'm good. Let me keep going. Yeah, yeah.
Keep coming back around to
Mm,
it. But I've gotten clarity about it and
mm,
I'm at peace with it.
mm. That's good. Yeah, I think they're good questions to ask. And what's your motivation? Some people could put things on a board for all the wrong reasons, and someone else for every godly reason there could be. And sometimes we mix up what's godly and what's not. I remember a speaker that said no one should drive a car any better than this particular model that he drove. The car
Mm,
that he chose is like there's no Christian should ever drive a car more
huh.
than such and such a car. And I was like, well, you've just, there are a lot of Christians, how many billion that don't have a car at all. Why are you driving a car? I could push back and just say, you know,
Yep.
you have said and stated and said where you are in your thinking, but whether that applies to every Christian in the world, which is what he was saying it ought to, and I'm like, that so doesn't apply to so many people in the world.
And also the people who are driving a car more expensive than that.
Or more, and for different reasons, or for safety, or there's a lot of I had a friend that drove a really nice car, and she said, I don't like these little tiny sports cars, or I don't like this whatever. I don't like these little inexpensive cars because I don't feel safe in them. And I said, oh, do you think everyone should drive? And I mentioned her brand of car, and she said, oh, it's not about brand. I just want to be up higher and be able to see and feel safe because otherwise I'm not safe out there. And I was like, oh, that's a very different thing. And I wouldn't have known
Mhm.
without her telling me and revealing that to me that was her motive was not to drive one of the best cars that's out there. And she didn't care about the brand at all. And she genuinely didn't. But that was what she could afford and what was safe and and so I think we'd be wrong to judge other people's motives or what's on their board and why they put it there and what's in their heart really. But I think it's good to ask the question for ourselves. And I think that's part of the word process. For me, it was very helpful, like the world's greatest songwriter. I have on my board, I want to make this movie about the real Saint Nicholas for Christmas time. And it struck me one day that I want to make the number one Christmas movie for the next 100 years. I want it to be the most watched Christmas movie like the Nutcracker has been for 100 and some years, and the Christmas Carol has been for 100 some years, but those are several hundred years old at this point, combined between them. And it's time for something fresh that would not just be a one-off kind of Christmas show, but I want one that's going to be lasting. And I look at that goal and I go, that's ridiculous. It's not going to happen. But then I look at the tools that are available today and the technology that I know and the people that I know. And my son Bo's working with me on things like this, and some of my other kids keep sending me videos of what can be done, and I'm like, we really could make something really compelling, and whether it gets beyond 3 views, the three of you might watch it, but I feel better about having a vision that is I want to make something that is of lasting value that's going to go beyond me, that really people will watch. And if you shoot high, you might not make it, but you're going to do better than if you shoot at, at a
Sure.
target that's totally achievable in human terms. It's like, well, I think I could do this, and that's well, maybe stretch a little and see what God has to say. So
Yeah.
anyway, this is all exciting to me.
Mhm.
But I would say another thing that is important or has been important to me is to speak it out loud. Don't
Mm,
leave it on your vision board, but say it out loud to people
mm,
who know and love you, who
mm,
want to pray for you, who are investing, who are your cheerleaders.
Do you just whip it out and say, "Hey, can I show you my vision board?" How do you bring that up in a conversation? I'm just curious. I think it's a great idea to speak it. I've shown it to several people as they come to the house. I'm like, "Oh, look at
I
this.
think
Isn't this
it,
cool?"
it,
And they're like, "That's amazing."
it varies to the
Okay.
person in the
Okay.
conversation.
Mm,
But at least when you make a vision board, at least share it with one person or your family or who,
mm.
a trusted friend.
And this is part of the
Yeah.
value of doing it as a retreat like you guys hosted, because you're all creating the boards together and then you share it with each other as you put it together, right? And then
Yeah.
you're
And
able
one
to
person inspires another person
mm, mm.
just by hearing what their process is, even though they may be in a completely different place.
I love that. Share it with at least one person.
I hosted a vision board workshop for a Chick-fil-A team. It
Mm,
was their leadership team from one owner who has two restaurants. Anyways, I hosted it in my home, and it was a group of, like, I don't know, 12, 13 people. And they walk in, and, everyone was, tentative. They didn't know me. They'd never been to my home. They didn't, they didn't know what they were doing. There was a real quietness to them
mm,
as a group. And of course, gave the presentation, gave them the instructions on the hows and the whys and the what fors of a vision board, and then gave them a lot of time to make it. And, you know, they all made their boards. And then we came back together and talked about goal setting as a result of, you know, the things that you have come up with on your board. And I asked them to share their board with the person sitting next to them and just tell the story of the board.
Mm.
And I mean, like if you were going to take one of those meters that tells you the energy in a room, like I would say when they first came in, they were like at 2. And
Mm.
when they were sharing their boards, and they didn't just share it with one person, they probably spent a good 45 minutes sharing it with
Mm.
every single person in the room. And
Mm.
that it was like 1,000% energy in there. But it was
Mm.
so beautiful to watch them be so excited about what they
Mm.
were doing.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
it was really cool to watch this Chick-fil-A owner watch her, you know, have it explained to her what what their desires were. They wanted to get college degrees, they wanted to have savings, they wanted to do this and this, and then she would respond with, well, would it be helpful if I got somebody like a financial planner type person who came in and did some work with you, and you know, and
Mm.
we figured out a way for you to save just a little bit and build up an
Mm.
account so that you could do this thing? And they were like, yes, yes. And so
Mm.
I just got to watch all that happen in my family room.
Wow.
But it was really, really um, a very interesting observation of the value of looking at what is it you really want inside your soul, and then putting it
Mm.
out there, having that whole creative process of creating the board and then sharing it with people, and it's saying it out loud. What Joan said is such a vital part of it. And then
Mm.
the second piece of that vital part of this board is to put it where you see it every day. I mean,
Mm. Mm.
a lot of people put it in the bathroom. So every time they brush their teeth, they're looking at their board, or, you know, where just it needs to be where you see it all the time.
Mm.
And that is part of
Mm.
the work of how it works.
Mm. I love hearing that. That was so revealing to the owner too, to know what the employee's passions were and how she might be able to help. And I imagine that happens at your other retreats too when you do it together, because people are like, "Oh, I actually know someone," or "I do," you know, and then yeah, you can maybe help each other with your passions. And I can see how people would come alive because they're talking about what's passionate in their life, and you don't always get an opportunity to do that. So to have a chance to really say, "Hey, here's what really makes me me and what I really
Makes
want
me
to lean
tick.
into." Yeah,
Mm.
I
Well,
love
and
it.
I've heard people say when they're explaining their board of themselves, oh, that's what I've been trying to say. They
Mm,
finally got the words and said it. And
mm,
and for themselves, it helped them get the clarity that they didn't even have.
mm. That's good. I'm thinking of some things on my board or some technologies that if I mention them out loud to people, sometimes they really push back and like, "Oh, that's too scary. That's too perilous. That's bad." And I'm like, why do I have this? I think it's going to be great, but it's not
Huh.
because it's about the technology. It's about what I can do with it. So by putting it on the board, it's
Mm.
like, here's where I'm going with this. When I talk about it, it's because I can reach so many more people for Christ, and I can do something, like the movie. I just want to reach as many people around the world as I can, give them the hope in Christ that I've found, and I'm so excited about. I've got my little convertible. I didn't know you were going to talk about your convertible. I've got Jesus in it.
That's
Yeah,
great. I want one of
but
those
this
on my.
this is my little this is a little model of one that I got recently that I fell in love. I saw it. I fell in love with it. I'm like, no, no, I can't. I told my friend that I went to look. I needed a new car this year. I'm like, no, I don't even want to look. And what if I love it? That's the problem. But it was actually affordable. It was doable, and it drove well, and the mileage was low, and all the things. And I'm like, and then someone donated the money specifically for a car and said, Eric, I want you to get a car, and I want you to get a car that makes you happy. And I'm just like, well, there's this one over here that really makes me happy, but it's not very practical. It's not very practical, but it really makes me happy. I've had it, for 2 summers now, and I'm just like, and I drove it down to
Drove it to the
Texas
art
for the art
retreat.
retreat where I was spent a few days with Ann and Joan for a different kind of art retreat, and I just love driving all the way to Texas, 18 hours or whatever, and then all the way back. But any other car, it might not have made it to Texas. My old one definitely wouldn't have made it out of the driveway. And anyway, but yeah, I want to reach people, and how can I reach people? And then, God, if you make a way, then I would almost be negligent if I didn't step into the way that God's made. I mean, if judging all the other balances and needs that are in the world and people and friends, we always have to. And I put it up for sale this year because I'm like, okay, I said I'd keep it for 2 summers and then I'm going to sell it because I just, but Bo said after a few days, he said, Dad, that's a nice strategy, but you're just going to want to keep it forever because you're going to love it. And he keeps telling it, Dad, you're falling in love with your, and now I'm like, no, now I'm taking it off the market because I'm like, no, I can't, because it drives well. It's still the lowest mileage. It's paid for. So, Lord, help us all. And thank you, Ann and Joan. And thank you, Bo, for this. Okay, as we wrap up here, I knew if I start talking about this, it's going to get passionate, and I'm going to be loving it, and I want to share about my board with people. And then Bo's like, I should make one, and so he did. And then I thought, if I invite you on here to do a podcast, people are going to be like, I want to do it too. And so we were just talking a few days ago, if people do want to do this, so I just want to take a temperature in the room of people who are watching this and say, would you like to do a retreat like this? We picked out a couple days and we're just tentatively putting it on the calendar right now. But if you'd like to do this online on Zoom, Ann and Joan said they're willing to lead people through it, an online version of what they do in person with people, but April 15th for 2 hours. They have so much more. They have worksheets that they provide, and you go through of some of what your desires are, the things you love, the things you're wanting to accomplish. And I went through all those worksheets, and Bo has been through those before we even got to looking for pictures. And you talk in your retreats about some of why this is important and helpful, and you give more statistics and more other things about how vision boards have helped a lot of people, not just yourselves. And so you share a lot of that, and then you talk about practical ways to do it. So we're looking at doing one of those, a session on April 15th, 12 to 2, where we talk about the foundations and what goes into going to look for your pictures, whether you go to the library or Barnes and Noble or grab some magazines that salons are throwing out, or libraries give away their old copies. You can grab a bunch, and there's some online you can buy too on Amazon. There's vision boards of all kinds for men and for women and for different reasons that you would do a vision board. And they'll send you a book that you can cut out pictures and words and things. But then we'd gather again. You'd work on your board and gather again a week later on April 22nd for 2 hours, noon to 2. And then we'd show each other our boards, talk about how you then turn them into goals that are on, more maybe checklists, or what can I do in the next 6 weeks? What can I do the next 6 months? And how can I put some legs on it, where it's not just in your head, but you're actually actively working towards it. And you'd give us ideas for that, which I'm excited about that part. Now that I've created the board, I'm very curious now, how do I translate that into goals that I can not just measure, but take a little bite at a time and say, okay, this is what I need to do to get my blood sugar level down to 101 on a consistent basis. What are the steps I need to take, whether it's medical or exercise or diet? Okay, this is what I want to look like. I want to look like a 20-year-old GQ guy in a 62-year-old body, but I like that idea. How do I do that? So there'd be 2 sessions, and I just want to know if you'd be interested. If you'd like to do that, just shoot me a reply at eric@theranch.org. And if we get a certain number of people, we'd love to do that. We're talking about just a donation to our ministry of $87 one time, just that'll cover both sessions. If you want to order some materials on Amazon, we can send you links that can be extra on your part, or you can go to the library or Barnes and Noble to get your materials, or a poster board, or whatever you want. I actually printed this. I put it all on the computer. I printed it at Walgreens with a discount for, I think it was $25. And I have a vision board that's of all these things, and it's a huge vision board, and it's situated by my desk on an easel, and I love it. So there's lots of ways to do it. But if you'd be interested, I'd love to hear that. And how would people get in touch with you if they just want to connect with you personally? They've loved what you're talking about. They'd like to hear more about your ministry, your business, your sharing, your workshops. Where would they find you?
My name is Ann McKitrick. You can see it there on the screen. I don't know if that will show at the when this airs, but it's just myname.com. And so,
Ann, ANNMCKITRIC, AnnMcKitrick.com. Great.
yes.
And tell me just some of the things you offer briefly on uh, this.
Um, I the I do several things.
Okay.
One is I am an early childhood educator and I train early childhood teachers. The thing that I am working most of my time on right now and is called Momentum Supper Club and Coaching Academy. And so Momentum Supper Club is an around the table personal growth and development program where you we meet in a person's home or anywhere around the table because people love to eat and they love to talk and they talk better over food than they do
Mm.
with. And so I've developed a framework that we follow. It's a five gatherings, and each one builds on the other. A vision board is a part of our process, and so I've run the supper clubs, and my vision, I believe from God, is that there would be supper clubs happening all over the world. I would
Mm,
love to see people gathering in homes and having intentional um, deep conversations about life and their spiritual journeys, their just their life journeys with each other, building community and eating with other people. The
mm,
data and statistics around loneliness and even sharing meals is so um, indicative of our aloneness,
mm,
and so we bring people together for a meal because everybody likes to have dinner made for them. Almost
mm,
everybody will say, "Yeah, I'll come to dinner," and
mm,
um,
mm,
and and we love it
Mm.
when people cook for us. And so, not only are we enriching their lives, but also we are modeling how to be hospitable. We show you how to do this and how to do it in your own home and how to invite people in. We
mm,
also take all of the things that we're learning and apply it to parenting so that children themselves can also have know what their purpose is and take full responsibility and have a vision and set goals for their lives and so yeah, that's part of it as well.
Well, I love all of that. And I signed up for your newsletter a few months ago, and people can do that on your website too. And you send that out maybe once a week,
Bi-weekly. Mhm.
every other week. And it's encouraging. A few things like what you're just saying. It's like invite people to your home. You can do this. Be intentional about conversations, and
Frozen
you give
pizza,
little tips.
egg
Yeah,
salad.
yeah.
It doesn't matter what you're eating. It
It's
just
a
matters
very
that somebody says, "Hey, I want to spend time with you and let's talk. Tell me about
Yeah.
you." You
I love it, and I love your ideas, and so people can sign up for that newsletter too. Or if they're in the Houston, Texas area, that's where you're uh, located and do some of your supper club things, or you also travel and do retreats and things for people. But
know.
great. And Joan, how about you? How do we get in touch with you or find out more about you?
My website is joanmoodyartist.com.
And it's Joan Moody, Moody, artist.com. All one word.
Yes,
Great.
easy.
And what some of the things that you do, Joan, that you
Uh,
offer to people even online?
I'm an art coach. It doesn't matter where you live, but I would love to talk to you if you are wanting to grow a body of work and learn how to be an artist, that the one that's in you. I don't have a prescribed program. I meet you where you are, and we create and meet monthly to figure out what it is that you specifically need. And it is my great joy to be a person that will give you a safe place to grow and fail and be the artist that's in you. It
Mm.
just needs a place to come out. I also teach and do art retreats now globally, which sounds so crazy for me to even say it.
The global
Mm.
one.
um, that's me in a nutshell.
That's great. Thanks, Joan. And she is my art coach, and one of these paintings on here is just one of my paintings, but I love, and she's just helped me sort of
And
growing
it's
my
so
own
good.
style, my own. It's been fun, and so now I have 25 canvases here around my room, blank canvases that I went to Michael's. They had a sale for buy one get three, so I bought all sizes, little magnets to the big ones that John is doing.
Here it is. I bought
I'm
4
so
feet by
excited
5
about it.
feet ones.
I'm so excited about it. I've never done this before like this, and I'm just like, I like it. Let me go get some, and I'm just gonna start painting and be more loose and free and just say, I really want to do this. And I've sold some since our retreat. I never imagined I would sell a painting ever in my life. That was never a goal till I went to your retreat, and then I was like, maybe I should make that a goal and see
Hey,
what
this is
happens.
worth money.
People actually want. I just was surprised anyone would want it, even if I gave it to. I'm like, you want my painting? And now they're like giving me money for it. So I'm surprised and I'm thankful, and because it helps me to say, like I think Bo said, it's a. I'll pause while you yawn, Bo.
Nope, sorry. Say it
It,
again.
it helps me, like Bo has said, as you get affirmed sometimes in certain things you're doing, it helps you to say, maybe I should lean into that. So you guys have been that for me. That's how we talk here in Illinois. Y'all have been that for me. That's how you talk in Texas. And I really appreciate that. Thanks so much. Is there anything else you want to say before we close? And I'm going to say a prayer here.
Thank you for the.
It doesn't matter what age you are, you could benefit from participating.
Mm,
I've done it from young to old.
I love that. You could bring your kids with you.
Hmm.
Bring a friend. Bring
Yeah.
someone. Yeah, and let us know if you're interested. And if we get enough, we'll put it on the calendar and we'll send you all the information. Bo, would you be able to pray for us actually
Yeah.
as we go out here? Thank you.
Dear Father, thank you so much for this opportunity to meet together via the internet, Lord. Thank you for Ann, thank you for Joan and their uh, life and mission and separate ministries and the way that we can unite and uh, do do outreach for you in all sorts of ways through art and through vision boarding and through encouragement and just chatting, Lord. I pray that you would continue to guide us all in that, Lord, that we would be able to see people where they are and help people to soften their hearts to be able to understand where they are as well, Lord, and to be able to dive into that deeper. I pray that in all of this, your name would be glorified. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.